I'm going to go under File and Open. And this is where I'm going to go get the template that you downloaded. Okay, so I'm going to say Open. And I have the template in this folder here, the MW MusicalWriters Final Draft Musical Template. So that's what you will have downloaded from that zip file in the chat or in the email. You may already have it from the site. And then you're going to open it. And you will see that now you have one page, which is all this template is. Basically, this template is setting up your style sheets, if you will. If you're familiar with, with a Word document, things like that, have a style sheet, then that's basically what the template is doing. So if you'll see right here at the top in this little toolbar, there's this word elements. Can y'all see that? Is that tiny or okay? Good. So this is really where your style sheets are. So this is what you're going to use more than anything else. And don't worry about what all those say just yet, but these are kind of all your choices. So if you look through this template, we're just going to start with this, and this is just like a mock script. So in parentheses, and this will be on yours when you open it, in parentheses, I have what each of the elements assigned to that thing are. So your Act 1, Scene 1, that's your scene heading. So if you go up here, you can see it says scene heading because that's what's assigned to that. That's the style that's assigned to that one. This next section is scene info, and you can see in the elements panel here, it changed to scene info. So scene info is like the where, when, your setup, and all of that. Okay, here's where you will set up the beginning of your scenes and give necessary information. This format is based on the Dramatists Guild of America's suggested musical format. The font is Times New Roman 12. So this is your, your stage directions here. Now, your characters. So as we go through, I'm going to tell you things that the final draft template and the elements, those style sheets automatically do once they're set up, and the things that you would have to do manually. So typically when I write a script, and when you see a script, you will see the character in the actions, in the stage directions, you will see their name capitalized in all caps. That is not something that it's going to automatically do. You can see if I decide to type Jane is waiting, Jane is not in all caps. It doesn't automatically know that that was a character, okay? Because it's in this section here that are all action. So if I want to make Jane capitalized, which just makes it easier on everybody that's reading it, so they can say, oh, I'm Jane, and here's a Jane. It just stands out. You can go up here under Format, and you can go to Style, and then go to all caps. The shortcut for that is Command K. So that, which kind of makes sense, it's caps. Which I know doesn't start with a K, but anyway, if you select it and then hit Command K, it'll go all caps, and then it'll go back down if you do it again. So Command K is going to make it in caps. Okay, so I'm just going to walk you through all of these elements really quick, and then we'll talk about some other things. Okay, so Bill, he's our first character, and you can see up here under elements that it went to character. Now, the parenthetical went to parenthetical. That is, kind of like your adverbs. If you say like, lively or angry, or if that's really important to you, which I'll just give you a tip, don't use a lot of that. Directors and actors don't really jive with you putting a lot of things on how they should act. If it's super important, like surprised, that might be an important element that you would want to put in there if there wasn't something already indicating that that character was surprised about something. But if you're trying to say something that is an emotion that the actor might want to interpret for themselves, I would leave that out. But this is the parenthetical. You can see here, there's a parenthetical. Here, there's a parenthetical. It's anything in parentheses that you want right after the character. And then this is the dialogue. You can see the dialogue changed there. So, and then here we've got the action again. You can see up there that it changed back to action. Okay, so now we're going to come down to where some of our things get a little more specific to musicals. So the other templates that I'll show you where they are in a second, they don't have lyrics or song titles and things like that. Some there is a couple of musical ones that have lyrics, but they're not really done correctly. But none of them have song titles. So your song titles just make it easy to see, you know, where the song begins. So this is really good for your music director to be able to see that. Then we're going to come down to lyrics. So you can see lyrics are in all caps. It will automatically do that for you. So let's say that I wanted this line to be lyrics. Maybe she's going to sing that. Then I can go up under elements and I can go to lyrics and it will change it to the lyric format. Okay. Or I can go back and make it dialogue again and it's dialogue. So lyrics are all, so the way I've written it in here to kind of help explain it, lyrics are in all caps. You shift and return to separate lines. So the way that these templates are set up, and I'll show you this again in a second, each element you can specify what you, so element like character or lyric or dialogue or action or song title, you can set a place, there's a place I'll show you where you can tell it, okay, after I have a character name, I want it to automatically go to dialogue. And that way you don't have to keep going clicking up here and doing this. So let's say I go to the end here. I have it set right now to where after dialogue, if I hit enter, it's going to automatically go to another character. So I can say James, and you can see it kick me to a different page. But it automatically put it in the character format. Now, if I hit return, it's going to automatically go to dialogue. You can see up here in the element. So now I can say, you know, James says, hey, I didn't mean to do that. And then if I hit enter, I go to another character. So we've got it set to where most of your script is going to be dialogue. Okay, so that will just help you to not have to continuously go change the element manually with your mouse, with your pointer, and do that. It's just automatically setting that. Now, what if I want to put a lyric there? Or what if I want to put an action there? So if I said he leaves, oh no, it's in a character element. Well, all I do is I change it to action. He leaves, and we're good. So those are just things that you would have to do manually because they're not set to follow, but it's super easy to do. Okay, so lyrics, lyrics are in all caps. You shift and enter return, or enter, it depends on what your keyboard is, if it's enter or return. So if I click after that on the lyrics, it's going to automatically start me a new lyric line. Okay, so one return is going to automatically start a new lyric line. Well, what if I want a new stanza? Do I hit enter twice? Well, there's once, there's twice. Oh, what's that? If you hit enter twice, it's saying, oh, you must be going to a new element. Which one do you want to do? So it's giving me all the elements there. Now, what's kind of a cool shortcut is those may be really tiny on your screen, but they all start with pretty much the name of the first letter of the element. So let's say I wanted to go to dialogue. I just hit D and it takes me to dialogue. Okay. But you can see that there's not a gap there. There's not a space. So to clear that. Oh. Stanzas are separated by a blank line. You shift return twice to insert a new stanza. So if you hold down shift, I can make it stay on that element as many returns as I want. So let's say I want to come way down here, I can still type lyrics and lyrics are still my element. As long as you hit shift, it will maintain that element. But if you hit return twice, it's going to kick you into, oh, what element do you want to use now? Because you're probably going to something else. But that's in the template in that lyric, so you can see that. Okay. Let's just keep going here. Okay, and then this just goes back to characters and dialogue. Okay, so that's a really quick overview of elements. Now that is if you wanted to start, okay, let's say you want to start a brand new script, okay? You're gonna open this template just like I did. You're gonna see, okay, all of these things are here. Now you could just select all, which is just like in your word processor. You're just going to do Command A, and you could select all, and you could delete it. And you could just start your script, okay? The problem is everything that was in there, mainly the characters, are kind of in the document somewhere. So who are these people? Jane and Bill. Jane and Bill are characters in your story, and you would have to find where they are and delete them so that it doesn't remember that you're using Jane and Bill, which is fine. It's not hard to do, but I would suggest that once you get this good to go, and here's another thing too. This is in Times New Roman, okay? So everything in here is going to look like this in that Times font. If for some reason you like Courier, because a lot of scripts are in Courier, you can make that change. You are going to be editing the template that you're going to use from here on. So let's say, you know what? I don't like it in Times New Roman. I really want it to be in Courier. I'm going to select all, and this is in my template, and I'm going to go up here under Format to set font. And then I'm going to, you can do it at set font, or there's also just font, and you can do it there. Doesn't matter, either way. So I'm going to go up here to Courier. Sorry, I'm a designer, so I have thousands. And they do have a Courier for Final Draft. So you're going to do that, and you're going to hit OK. And you can see it changed everything to Courier. But that did not change your default. So all of these things up here, if I were to do a new line and do a new character, it's still in Times. So I'm going to go up under, okay, I'm going to introduce you to the element panel now. This is where you would change things. So you go under Format to Elements. So this is the same thing that's here, except we're going to be able to edit them. Okay, so we have Elements, and here are all the choices that you have in this particular template. So we have, some of them you won't need, like shot, you don't need. In fact, you could select it. Well, it's not letting me delete it because it's in the template, but some of them you won't need. Let's say the character, I want to change everything to Courier, and I'm going to show you how to do it across the board. Font. We're going to go apply set font. I probably should have done that a while ago. Sorry. I'm giving y'all the long way around. Courier Final Draft. And then I'm going to hit apply font size to all elements. So what that's going to do is it's going to say, I want all my elements, my pre-done templates, my pre-done style sheets to now use Courier. You're going to hit that and then okay. And now wherever you go, whenever you start, if you want to come down here and start something else, I want to pick character, I can say Tom. He's now in Courier, and I love you. We're now all in Courier. So it's just your preference. You know, I like using Times better. I feel like it's cleaner. It just, I don't know, it feels better to me because I'm very visual. If you like something more nuts and bolts looking, then, you know, use Courier. It's really completely up to you. Okay, so showing the elements. All right, now let's say, now I don't like that. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to hit undo a couple of times. Actually, I can't do that. Okay, scrap that. Okay, so let's go back. I'm going to open my template again because I kind of got it all crazy in there. So here's my clean template, and you can always start from that. You can always open that up. I'm hearing music from somebody. Be sure you're muted. There you go. Okay, so back to here. If you want to change the elements that follow, and this is a little deeper dive, but I'll go ahead and show you how to do that. We're going to go back up here under elements in your template. You can see, let's go to character. If I go to paragraph here, oh, that's not right. Oh, there it is, right there, under basic. Next element. So it's saying that what we want to always follow character is dialogue. Now, if you are real into parentheticals and you like putting a parenthetical after every character name, then you could set that to parenthetical. And then every time you hit return after you type a character's name, it's going to automatically set you up for doing that parenthetical. I prefer it to be dialogue. So that's how your template is set. So that's how you can change those, is this next element. Okay. All right, now we're going to show you how to put this in your system to where you can always use it. Instead of having to open it from that template every time, we're going to save it as your template. So you're going to go under File, and we're going to do Save as Template. Create a custom final draft template. Yes, we want to do that. If you hit Save, it's just going to put that basically what you already have. It's going to save it onto a file onto your computer somewhere, and you have to open it from there. But if you say Add to my templates, we're going to say musical template. I'll show you where it will store that. Replace. No, let me do a different one. Save as template. Template 2. Okay. Now I'm going to close that out because I like my template. So if you don't like this template, or if you feel like, you know what, I want the parentheticals to be in italics. I've seen it like that. You could go up here under elements, you could go to parenthetical, font, you could go to set font, and you could say, make it italic. And I don't know why it's not already like that. Well, that's strange. I worked with this earlier today, and I'm thinking this template has a couple of bugs. So, and you'll find that with Final Draft. Let me see if I can figure that out real quick. Parenthetical, font, Times New Roman 12, italic, set font, italic. As typed. Okay. Okay, so there you go. There is a snafu in Final Draft because it didn't apply that to all of them. So there are definitely, and I am not a like Final Draft is not perfect. So I'm pretty sure if you don't start from a template that's already set, you can have a lot more control over some of those things. So if you were to go to new and just go, then you can set your elements however you want, and you can make anything, any font that you want. So if you're working with this template, I'm just going to say you're probably going to need to use it like it is, because I don't know if it's a bug or if it's just a lock that the templates, they don't want you messing with them too much, because then it's not really a template. So if you don't like this template, there are a few others you can, if you go new from template, you'll see that now I have my template in there. That MW template 2 is in there. So I can use that anytime to start a new script. I don't have to go find it on my computer somewhere. It's now in my templates. They also have some standard ones in there, and you can see there's a lot in there. There's Dramatist Guild musical. It's a little different. There's Broadway musical. So you can use, which we can do that. We can do new, and you'll see how that one's set up. It's a little bit different. The Broadway musical is a little more old school looking. So I have one of Stephen Schwartz's original scripts for Wicked, and it looks very much like this. But this is not typically standard anymore, but it will work. So if you like this more old school look, that's great. You can do that, but that's what the Broadway musical template looks like. If you want to do the Dramatist Guild musical template, you can use that one. You'll see that one looks a little bit more like the one that I've got. They've got the shift and a return. In fact, this is kind of the one that I used to build on. I've added a few other things that made it easier for me. But this is a great one to start, and it's pretty much the same thing, but it doesn't have a few things. Like the scene info, it doesn't have that. And it doesn't have song titles. in that one. So that's really, you know, up to you, but I like having song titles. So that was something that I added. Okay, so let's show you how to, you know what? Let me ask, does anybody, and I'm going to look at the group so I can see you. Does anybody need to know how to import something from like Word? Like if you want to bring in a script from Word? Anyone? Yeah. Okay. I'll show you that. Okay. It's not easy, and it's not real user friendly. I'll just warn you, but it can be done. Okay, so I'm going to close that out. So I'm going to go into Word, and I already have, which on the website too, if you decide you don't want to use Final Draft, and I'll show you some things in a minute that make Final Draft more worth it. What we're looking at now, what we've looked at so far, are really just style sheets that you can also do in Word. So those things, you know, are comparable as far as what Final Draft does versus what a word processor like Word will do. But you do have to set it up. In Word, I have a styles panel set up here, which you can see looks very similar. I'm sorry if that's super small, but you can see scene, character, dialogue, lyrics. I have this set up because I do script formatting for people, and some people want it formatted in Word. So I've got a template built for that. But there's a lot of things Word won't do, and I'll show you in a minute how some of those things. But let's say that I open my script in Word, and so I've got my characters. So these are just some of the title things. So here's my script. You're going to go in Word, and you're going to save as, and you're going to save it as rich text format, which is a .rtf. So basically what that means, as opposed to plain text, is rich text is going to hold on to those style sheets. So it's going to tell the file, keep these things kind of separated. If you do it as plain text, it's going to say all these things are the same thing. The only difference is there's a return that's been hit to kick it to a new paragraph. But the rich text format is going to, it's going to mean that like all the characters are going to stay the same way, and all of the dialogue is going to stay as its own thing. So it's just a little bit different way that the file separates the different paragraphs. So we're going to save it as rich text format. And then we're going to go out of that, go back into Final Draft. Actually, I don't need that. Then we're going to open that. We're going to go to open, and we're going to find that rich text file, that RTF file, and it will let you open that in Final Draft. And it's going to say import and convert to script or text, and we want to convert to script. And now you will see that has brought it in, and it will not have maintained all of your formatting. But the thing, so in that file, in that Word file, I had a cover sheet, I had a started list of characters, a started list of settings. So all of that is coming through, and it's not really finding a format that it's happy with to be. So I'm going to just delete all that for now. And we can go back and format that later. I'll show you how. Because Final Draft treats your title sheets, your title page, as something completely different. It's not even part of the script. So I'm just going to delete these pages, delete these back up. Okay, so now you can see I've got somewhat of a broken up script, which isn't terrible, but it is not assigned anything yet. So if you can look at the elements panel as I just toggle through and go down, oh, it did maintain character because the name was the same. So it found that. It said, oh, Word had character associated with it. So we have character in Final Draft. We're going to put those together. So that's really great. So your characters are good. You don't have to really manipulate that. This, your dialogue, it just went to general because it couldn't find the same thing. So if I want to use my template now, I'm going to select all. I'm going to go under Format and Elements, and it says here, apply a template. So here are all the predetermined templates that it came with that Final Draft just has natively. So you can see there's the Dramatists Guild musical and that Broadway musical that we saw. Ours isn't in there because it's not native. Ours will be under Other. So you're going to go under Other, and you're going to find that file that you had, you know, your template file that you saved. And you're going to open that, and you're going to hit OK. And you can see there, now we're looking a little bit more like our template that we wanted. So the only problem is it didn't assign things. It's looking closer. So here we're going to have to go in, and this is where it gets really cumbersome. So this far was good. The rest of it is going to be tricky. If you have your whole script in Word, you have to manually do this whole thing, okay? Which is really a pain, but they've made it a little bit easier in that if you go under Tools and you go to Reformat, it's going to bring up this box that has these little buttons, if you will, of the different elements. So what it will do is if we start at Kathy's Kitchen, early evening, we know that is our scene info, which is not in there because it's not native. So, okay, here's another thing. If you add an element, so like some of the elements that I added, like song, you don't see song title in that reformat because song title is not native to Final Draft. So they don't let you put yours in there. These are the things that are native to them. So you would want to hit close and then go do scene info there. So you kind of have to do it one at a time. Kathy comes into the room. She appears anxious. We know that's action. That one is, let's go into reformat now. Action is one of those. It's really the most common ones. So we can just click that button and then it automatically goes to the next element. So it's going to just carry you through. So John is already a character. We've got that. So we're going to go to next. Dialogue, hit dialogue. Kathy, she's good. Hit next. Frantic, that's a parenthetical. Click parenthetical. So this is just how, if someone sends this to me, this is how I go through it. Character is good. We've got that. Then we're going to click dialogue. John takes hold of the mouse. That's an action. So it's really just clicking through, but at least you don't have to like select it, go click the element, select it, go click the element. It's going to take you through there a little bit easier. John is a character. Then we've got dialogue. Kathy is a character. Dialogue. Does that make sense? So that's kind of how you have to do that. And you have to do it with the whole script, but it's possible. Not super easy, but possible. Okay, so that's coming in from Word. I'm going to close that out. Now I'm going to open, let's go from new from template again. My templates. Okay, we did import script from Word. We did reformat. We talked about lyrics. Okay, I'm going to show you a little thing that we run into that's a problem. It's not easy to do in Word, and it's not easy to do in Final Draft, and that is do a duet. So if you are to have two people singing different lyrics at the same time. So obviously, if we have here, if Bill and Jane, so I'm going to go to character and I'm going to say Bill. And then this is how I do two characters. I do Bill / Jane. Okay. And that shows that it's both of them. And then I hit return. I'm going to select lyrics for this. If they're singing the same thing, obviously I can just write their lyrics. You know, they sing the same thing. We love singing. They're singing the same thing as far as their lyrics, not their notes, obviously. But what if we want something that's a little contrapuntal, you know, where one sings something and the other kind of does this echo before this one gets to his next line and all of that. The only option that we have, which again is a little cumbersome, but it's doable, but you can only do two. So you can only have two characters singing side by side. So if you have a trio, then you have a problem. And it is just a fault and a drawback of Final Draft, basically because they were not created as a musical tool. So they don't have that capability yet. I have talked to them and we are pushing and pushing and pushing to get this option in the system. But for now, you can only have 2 characters singing simultaneously. So this is how you would do that. And again, this is probably something you're going to want to refer back to on the recording. Taking notes may feel a little crazy, but this is doable. So if I want, let's see, character Bill. I want Bill. Okay, this is another thing that I'll show you while we're here. So final draft, which this is a good thing, but again, it can kind of get a little weird. It automatically remembers your characters that you've typed in. Which is why I said earlier, you know, if you use this script and you just delete everything and then start over, it still remembers Bill and Jane are in your show. So, you know, sometimes you have to just kind of retrain it, if you will. So I'm going to type, let's say, Tom. So Tom's going to be a new character, and he's going to sing Roses Are Red. And let's say that I'm like, okay, Tom, you're going to sing some lyrics. Roses are red. Violets are blue. I love singing when I'm with you. Okay, great. Now we're going to change to Sally. And I'm going to give Sally some lyrics, and she's going to sing Roses are red. Violets are blue. Please don't make me sing till you're through. Okay. But we want them to sing that at the same time. Okay. So maybe they're like on different corners of the stage or whatever, however your music is going to go, but you want it, this looks like Sally sings after Tom. So the way to do this, you would want them setting side by side. And that's not easily done in Final Draft, but there is a way to do it. What you have to do is you have to set this, there's up under format, and it's not, it's grayed out right now because it's only used on dialogue. So it's called dual dialogue. You would have to make your lyrics dialogue, and then it will let you do that. So I'm going to change these lyrics to dialogue. And you can see it puts them in not all caps, because dialogue we don't do in all caps. But these are going to be lyrics, and I want them to be in all caps. So I'm going to do my Command K so that I manually change this to look like lyrics. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing with Sally. I'm going to select her lyrics. I'm going to make them dialogue. And then I'm going to make them all caps so they look like lyrics. Then I select from Tom all the way through Sally. So we want the character and the lyrics on both sets. Then we can go up under format, and you see dual dialogue is now an option. And if we select it, it will kick them side by side. Okay. So now we know that these things happen at the same time. Now, another drawback that's a little bit of a pain in the rear is if I want to edit that, it's going to kick them out. So let's say that I want to say roses are dead. It kicked them back into my dialogue format. Okay. So if I edit anything, violets are too, whatever, then I'm going to have to do it again. I have to go back. I have to select them. I have to go under format and dual dialogue, put them back up there. So anytime you click in there to edit these lyrics, it's going to pop them out of dual dialogue, but you can see that it's doable. So that's how that's done. Okay. Let's look at your title page. So you should be able to, from this template, you should be able to just go. If you want to start from scratch, you can do a new, and you can, well, it's going to automatically bring you a template. So you're not going to start with a blank document. But that's fine. You don't want to start with that. You want to use this, and that will help you to get started. Okay, so let's say that we're going to do our title page. In your little toolbar up here, you can see there's a thing that says title page. This is where I was talking about with Word. Word had your title page all in the document, all together. In the script, in Final Draft, your title page is really a separate entity. So if you click on title page, you see that we pop up another window. And the template also has this preset for you. Take that down a little bit. Okay, so This is where you're going to put your title. This is very self-explanatory. If you want to, put your authors, your composers, your team, you want to put your contact information. So you're just going to replace all of this. The next page is your character descriptions. So it's just got to start for you so that you can see how to do that. Now, if I go to make a new person, this is manual. So this is not, oh, it knows when I change to gender and when I change to voice part, it doesn't know. This is just so you can see, kind of a good format to use. So you could either copy and paste it. You could copy Bill and put him there and then change him to Jane, all caps, Jane Doe, and edit that. Or you can just, start your own. But it's already got this in here so you can just kind of see this is where this goes. Ensemble as coworkers / tech team / villagers. So you can just edit that like you want. Here's where you're going to put your settings. So just list every setting that you have in the show. And then this is the part that, again, it's manual. It's a manual entry, but the copy and paste really makes it really easy. This is where you're going to put your musical numbers. Now, this is something you want to do very last because your pages are going to change. So, which is another reason why having those song titles in there is really helpful, because when you start to make that a little smaller, when you start to go back and add your musical numbers into this title page set, you have to go find, where does the song start? Where does the song start? Well, if you only have lyrics, sometimes that is just really hard to comb through that whole script and find where the song starts. So if you will use the song title feature and number your songs, you just do that, then it's so much easier at the end to go through and be like, okay, 1 is my lyric song. Yeah, excuse me. And then you could go back and you could type 1, my lyric song, whatever your title is. And then this is not a fancy word processor. So again, this is a manual thing, but the way I have this set up is just using these, they're just periods. So you just ... until you get over, put your whoever's singing it, if it's company or if it's Jane and Bill, excuse me, dot those over, find your page number, whatever that was, page 1, and we'll go over page numbers in a second too, because that's a good thing to know. Then you're just going to add that. So put all your musical numbers there. That's really important for your music director. If you're submitting for something, they really want this musical numbers page. So be sure that after you make any edits, because it could kick your song to a new page, anytime you go back and you do a rewrite, don't forget to update your musical numbers page, because your page numbers will change. And your song numbers may change. You may move a song. So, just be sure that you make this most up to date before you send something out. So that's your title page, pages. So you can close that. Anytime you want to get back to it, it's just right here, title page. Okay, let's talk about page numbers. This is something that is a little easier, one of the great features of Final Draft. So the way that the template is set up is the page numbers are going to correspond with the scene headings, okay? So the scene heading, if you select, like, let's say that I select Bill and I make him a scene heading instead of a character, it's going to kick it to a new page. So the scene heading element knows that every time there's a new scene heading, we're starting a new page. So let me put Bill back to character. So this is kind of what's driving your page numbers, is the scene heading. So to change, now this is manual and this is a pain, but it works. And I'll show you some other things in the Navigator in a second. You're going to select your scene heading, and you're going to go under production to scene numbers and edit scene number. So all of those are under production. So what you want to do, don't worry about going to scene numbers because that's already set for you. You want to edit the scene number. So the way that I have this set up is my page numbers in the upper right-hand corner of the pages are going to have the act dash the scene dash the page. Okay, so page number. if you want to change that, you can. There's a way to do that. And if you ever want to email me or ask about that later, I can show you it, but it's not, I mean, really, you don't need to mess with that. So if you see here, it says edit scene number, change scene number to, and the way I have it set up is you have an alphabetical act number. So I'm using the capital letter I as the act dash the number 1 for the scene. And I'll change that so you can see how it would change. If I change that to scene 3, you can see that now it's act 1, scene 3, but it didn't change act 1, scene 1 here. It's all manual, folks. So you would have to change that, which is a pain in the rear, but it's just how it works. So act 1, scene 1, change that back. Now here, this is just mine. You could do act 1, scene 1 if you wanted to. This is all up to you, but the scene heading is still the scene heading, and the page, the act and scene number is still connected here. Okay. So if I go down here and this scene is over and I want to start act 1, scene 2, I'm going to change that to scene heading. It jumped down to a new page, and you can see here, I haven't told it what to put here yet. So if I go under production, edit scene number, I'm now going to make that one I-2. And of course it doesn't do anything. Let me put some dialogue there. Let's see. Let's do a character, John. And dialogue. Hey folks. Okay. Edit scene number. I-2. Okay, now we're good. So now we have I-2. So act 1, scene 2. So that's and until you get to another scene heading, every page in that. So let's say that I'm just going to copy and paste Bill and Jane's dialogue here over and over and over and over and over. You can see that all these pages, they're going to hold to I-1. So act 1, scene 1, act 1, scene 1, act 1, scene 1. Until I get to a new scene heading, that is not going to change. So that's really a great thing that Word won't do, is it can't remember to change that. I mean, there might be a way to do that, but this is really a good feature. Another place that these page numbers connected to the scene heading comes in handy is one of the things that I love about Final Draft, and it's the Navigator. So if you go here under the Navigator and go to scenes, thinking character. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll go to scenes. This is where, you know what? I'm going to open up my script real quick. One of my old ones. Because it's a little more filled in. So this is an old script from our show. And you can see here that I've got the Navigator open. And so here are my scenes. There's the scene numbers. So this is what I put in there. Scene act 1-1, all there. I didn't moved on to a different script after this, so it's not all filled in. But this is a really great place to help you organize. So you're going to have a title. So every scene, you can put in a title for your scene. Now that's not going to go anywhere in your script. This is just kind of a note place for you. It's just an organization place. So what I do is I put in for the title, I kind of like sum up the scene. So for example, the prologue. So our act 1, scene 1 was kind of a prologue. So I have prologue. In parentheses in there, I have The Perfect Christmas, which is the song that's in that scene. So every scene for the title of that, and you can enter that right here, I put the song in parentheses. And that way I can look and I can say, okay, this one has The Perfect Christmas. This one has Here's the Thing. This one has Let's Fly. And then it tells you what page those are on. And let's say that I want to jump to In the Dark, this scene 1-7, Harry's Discovery. I just double click on it and I'm there. It just took me there in the script, which is so nice because I may say, okay, I'm going to do something in Act 1, Scene 8, and I'm writing about Ben's tantrum. And I'm like, oh, wait, Ben said something about that back here when he was talking to his dad in this scene. So I need to go fix that. Click, click, I'm there. So it's really a good way to jump around and not have to scroll. Where was that? So that's very, very helpful. Another thing that you can do here in the Navigator is in this box down here, it's called the scene summary, which is kind of a similar thing to the title. So your heading here, you see this is what I actually have as my scene heading, Act 1, Scene 3. The title, it's like your kind of, very brief summary of that scene. And then a scene summary. So here, you can see I've done it on some and some I haven't. So Harry deployed. The scene summary I have, it's Patterson home, December 5th, Cammy comes home, Harry tells blah, blah, blah. The song is True North. So that's just kind of what happens in that scene. Now, this is a really cool thing that Final Draft has. If you go under View, you can look at something called index cards, which a lot of us use index cards when we're working on a show to try to get our beats right and, get your high points. Well, it has index cards in here. So if I go to under index cards and I go to summary, what I'm putting in for the scene summary here in the Navigator, you'll see it's going to add that. And my goodness, those are so small. Let me make that a little bit larger. There we go. It's got the same thing. So Act 1, Scene 1, you can see that my summary that I write in here is now on this note card. So as I'm looking, and some are not filled in, because like I said, I moved on to a different something. And this is just kind of a working one. If I wanted to move these note cards around, I can. Just like if I had note cards on my desk. What's going to happen is if I move the note card, though, that scene in the script is going to move with it. Okay, so let's say that True North, I really want to move that scene up and it be right after the opening. Then I can just grab this note card and I can drag it up here. And now it's up there. And if I go back and look at my script, so I'm going to go to View, Script. And I would have to, you'd have to kind of zoom out quite a bit, but it will be in that order. Now, this is where the problem would be is, let's see, let me delete that one for now. And let's go see my script that I moved around. So I have Act 1, Scene 1, Prologue. That was a pretty long scene. Okay, well, let's just use the Navigator because that would be easier. You can see over here that now I have Act 1, Scene 1, but then I have Act 1, Scene 4 because I moved it. So if I go to Act 1, Scene 4, see, it should say Scene 2 now. So I have to go in and I have to say Scene 2. I select it. I have to edit that scene number, change that to 2. And now we're cooking. Now we're all good. But it does not automatically redo everything else. So this is where there's some manual things that come in. It makes everything, it will make it nice here because you can, you can double click on that and just change. You can kind of fly through it once you get the hang of it. But this Navigator is really nice to jump between scenes. You just double click on it. Another nice thing that the Navigator does is called script notes. And you can see that in this window here. If you want to make a script note, so let's say that Ben crawls out with Charlie. I want to ask my director about that, or I want to come back to it, whatever kind of note I want to make there. I can go to Insert and I can do Script Note, and I might be able to right click. Yes, so you can right click and it'll bring up this little menu and you can go to Insert Script Note. And you can see it puts a little flag there. And then over here in your Navigator, it says April 27th, 2021. That is today. So it's saying this, it'll tell me when I made that note. And then I just put my note here, ask Alana about this. And then you've got here types. Let's say I want that to maybe be a song. Like maybe we don't want to have this all be dialogue. Maybe right here we need a song. Then I can make that music. And let's say that I want to make that pink and I want you can just kind of customize here. And then you can go up here and you can see, well, I have a script note that I made in 2020 about music. Double click on it. It takes you right there. So this is really kind of a good way to, not only work on your script, but also, make your notes. And instead of having to write it on a piece of paper or whatever, you can kind of keep your notes here and you can go back and you can look, maybe you resolved something. Look at this, October 25th, 2018. Double click on that. Is how is Toy Charlie in this scene? We've resolved that so much. So, I can just like X that out with this X and just delete that because I fixed it. But this is where you can kind of keep a running, list of notes, and it will take you straight to that spot. You can create new types if you want to say, this is a costume. If you're that far along, then maybe it's a costume thing. And you want to say, what does Ben wear here? And I want that to be red. Then you can do that. So you can make new types of your script notes. So that's a nice thing that it does. Another cool thing is called characters. And I have got so many characters in that one. I'm going to not save that. We're going to open the other one back up. New from template. Because that takes us back to just Bill and Jane again. So Bill and Jane, you can see our characters in this. They're the only characters here because I didn't save any of that about Tom and Sally. So this is really kind of a cool new thing that some of the later editions of Final Draft have, where you can really get specific about your characters as far as, and you can see here, their role, their gender, ethnicity, orientation, disability, age, occupation. You can get as specific as you want to with that. Let's just say, just to be easy, I'm going to say Bill, I'm going to type him as male. Jane is female. Now, this cool thing down here, which is very new, is called an inclusivity analysis. So what it's going to do is it's going to compare all your characters on these traits. So you can see here, I have trait age. Well, I don't have an age specified there. So I'm going to go to gender. So right now, obviously I only have 2 characters. So it's telling me that my characters right now, I have 50% female and 50% male. Okay. It also, so characters, the dialogue, it's looking at their dialogue as well. And it says, well, so they are evenly split as far as their dialogue. If I had Bill with, a ton, if I just gave him a ton of lines and didn't give Jane any lines for a while, then the male is going to really start to be a bigger part of this pie chart. You can also do, like, let's say age. Let's say that Bill is 25 and Jane is 45. Then trait, I'm going to look at age. And obviously they're split. They're saying the 45-year-old is here. And so they're still 50-50 because there's only 2 characters. But this is a neat place to put your characters in, and you don't even enter your character here. So your character entry is in your script, but it's going to keep tabs on those. And if you want to come back in and, kind of specify these things, then you can do that and really see, if you're wanting to be inclusive in some way, it's just a way that you can compare that, just a chart. It even has this option. It has this camera right here. So if you want to, let's say I'm going to go back to gender, and I want to click this camera, it's just going to save this chart for me. So you can see it just made it's a PNG. So it's not a JPEG, but it's an image file. So let's say that, you wanted to send that along. Let's say that you're submitting your script for a female, contest that's for female writers and that's really pushing, gender equality or whatever it might be. And you want to say, listen, I've done this, chart on my script, and this is how it plays out to show you that, I have good representation in whatever you want to, whatever you're going for in that. It's really cool that it does these charts. So you have to put in the information here, but the charts it automatically does if you just select the trait that you want to have on there. So that's really cool. Don't really worry about tags. That's a little more in depth. Okay, so title pages, let me see. Page numbers, did that. Navigator, script notes, character. Okay, so let's go back to the views really quick, just so you can see the options here under view. So normal view is going to have a line showing your page break. So window gets a little large. Let's go there. So you can see here as I scroll down, this is actually where the page break would be. Now I'm going to just copy and paste that to make my script a little longer so you can see that. Okay, so you can see it's got a page break. If I go to page view, this is what it's going to look like printed. So you can see kind of how your margins, lay, all of that. I've got it here where it puts a date in the bottom right-hand corner. So that's your footer. That's something that you can take off if you want to. I mean, you just go under, you have a thing under document that's header and footer where you can edit those. But it's nice to have that, that date on there. If you go under view to speed view, this is just unencumbered. So it's almost like you have one of those rolls of paper that never ends. So you're not going to see any page breaks. Your script's just going to go. So there's no, there's no big gaps. So that is, it's just your preference on how you like to work. I usually keep it in normal view or page view, but it's really up to you. Again, we talked about the index card summary. There's also index card script. So I kind of look at it like it's the back side of the cards. So, if one side is the summary, which is what we put in the Navigator as, just some of that little blips of information. If you go to view and index card script, it is going to have the script for that scene in there. You cannot edit it, but you can see it. So if I were to open up my show that has a lot more in it and went to index card script, you can see, and I can also select all and make that font bigger. You can see it's putting all of the script in there. So I don't know why you'd want that because you're not going to fit a whole scene on a card, but it does have the script on that side. I say on that side. And then the summary is the things that you put into the Navigator. Okay, last thing that we're going to talk about is your revisions mode. And this is another thing that Final Draft does that's really nice. So I'm going to go back to the script with just the template. And let's say, make that a little bit bigger. Let's say that I've written a full script and I send it to a dramaturg, I get a script review, I send it to my director. You're just sending it out for feedback, okay? They send you feedback. Okay, ma'am. They send you feedback and then you're gonna start making, your rewrites. I just learned this a couple of years ago when I started working with our director. And so maybe she said, let's change. I think we could say this dialogue a little better here. Maybe that was her comment. So if I change this to, that was a great song, I'm going to change it to, wow, that was incredible. And then I make all the changes that she suggested and I send back to her. That's really a pain for her to have to needle through and find what changed, right? So let's say we're going to go under production, the production menu, and we're going to go to revisions mode. So revisions mode, and if we click on revisions here, we're going to see don't let this be too confusing. And there's a lot in this little menu, but the revision mark here is an asterisk. So that's kind of the thing that we want to know. If I'm in revisions mode, so you can see that's checked. If I make a change, what are we gonna do? Whatever. You can see it put an asterisk there, okay? Any change that I make in the whole script, separated by a parentheses, whatever. It puts an asterisk there. So now when I send this off, it's easy to find what changed. Now, if you want to, so let's say that you send all this, all that looks good, and now you're up to your next set of rewrites. You want to clear that. So you're going to just click somewhere. You're going to do a select all, which is Command A, select all. You're going to production. You're going to say clear revised. So that's just going to take all those asterisks off. And now you're kind of starting from that point. I would suggest that you save multiple copies. So I would save it based on a date, or round 1 or version 1 and save them. And that way, if you want to refer, let's say that you change all the lyrics in a song. And then if you're only working off of one copy the whole time, you won't be able to see what you had earlier. And maybe sometime you're like, there was a lyric in there I really liked, but it's gone forever. You can open up that old copy and see what that is. So I would suggest doing that. Okay, the last couple of things, and I know this is a lot, but I just want to show you some of the good features if you're trying to decide if you want to use it as opposed to Word. Something that it's got that's pretty cool is if you go under Tools, there are some reports. And this is kind of like those charts that we saw earlier. So if you go to Character Report, and we want a character report for Bill, it's going to show kind of a summary for the character Bill. Bill speaks 4 times, 77 words. He appears as a non-speaking character 0 times. He interacts most with Jane. And then it's going to say, now we only have one scene in this because we're just using that little simple template, but it's going to give you detail of every time Bill speaks. So this is nice if you want to see, if you've got, of course, if you have a more robust script. So let's say, let me open up mine again. And I want to do a report, a character report on, let's do Charlie. Then you can see here, Charlie speaks 80 times. He interacts mostly with Ben. He has monologues on the following pages. And then we're going to go into detail, and it's going to show every time that Charlie speaks in the scenes. So you can see all of his dialogue, which is also helpful if you want to provide this for your actors. Now, obviously, they're going to want to use the main script, but if they want something that's really got it condensed so they can see all of their lines and only their lines, somebody might want that. So the summary is really helpful for the writer or for the director, because you can see, kind of the overarching thing that the character is doing. And then the detail is really just a little bit more, one way that you could use that detail section is if you were trying to be sure that your character had the same tone, or let's say that his, maybe you had a dialect that you're using for a character. You could kind of scroll through there and be sure that that dialect was consistent. Instead of reading the whole script to do that, you could say, okay, Charlie should always, if you had him with a country accent and you were, speaking like Southern colloquial, whatever, and you could see, well, sometimes he says ain't and sometimes he says isn't. And maybe we want him to always say ain't. So you could kind of go through there and see, where those are. So that's a neat little tool, a report that you can do. Okay. I think that's all I'm going to cover for now. One thing that's just something that you might want to make a note about is to go under preferences. So and you don't necessarily have to have a document open, but you can. You're going to go under preferences. And there's a thing here called autosave and backup. Do not autosave. It has that as an option. It should not be checked by default, but you do not want to autosave, because what that does is it's going to save what you've done over whatever you've already done, and you may not want to do that. Now, the auto backup, you do want that enabled. So what the autosave is going to save your document so let's say that I have it checked, it's going to say autosave every, and I can pick the duration. I can tell it to autosave every 15 minutes, every 5 minutes. I don't trust myself enough for it to save it over what I'm working on, because, you know, if it saves it and then I'm like, oh no, I didn't really want to do that, that won't work at all, then it's saved. I can't go back. So I don't autosave. Now it does have this, it knows people are like that, and it says ask before autosave. So if you want to autosave, be sure you check ask before autosave, and it'll have a little dialog box that pops up and it says, do you want to save your work? Do you want to save your progress? And you can say yes or no. But that gets really irritating for that to pop up every 5 minutes. So I would say do not have either one of those checked, okay? The auto backup is much better, because what it's going to do is it's going to save a separate backup file. So every time you, like periodically, it's going to save, and I don't know how like many minutes it is, but it's going to save a backup file. So you can get back to something. Let's say that you write this whole script and you save it. And like I said, you didn't save it as a new version, and it's the one that you've been working on for 2 months, and you completely deleted a scene. And then a week later, you're like, oh, I think I want to move that scene to somewhere else now. Well, you've lost that scene. You can always go here. It says open backup folder. You can always go in there and it will find, let me see. Well, there you go. You can see there's all of those. And there's September 15th, 2020. And there's like 30 backups. So it's pretty robust as far as saving your backups. So you can always, and you just double click on that and it'll open it as a script. So it will save those for you, and you don't have to worry about your current script saving over itself. You can always go back to your backup folder. So that's under preferences, and that's just a good thing to know, because you don't want to work on something and then lose it. That's just not a good thing. Okay, so that is pretty much a beginner's guide.